Ladies and gentlemen, your hosts, Michael Wilkes, Angel Ortiz, Dr. Chad, and Sam La Cavera. Go check out beardedbrowns.com and be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Enjoy the show.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Victory to... Wait, that's not important. Who cares if we got the victory, right? Who cares if we won back-to-back games? Who cares if a rookie quarterback went back-to-back W's in the division? Because there are bigger pressing needs for us to talk about. That's because, our guy, Kevin Stefanski, got fired. He overtakes all presidents, right? All precedents right now.
And president.
Yeah, that too. Myles' sack record means nothing. Why? Because your head coach got fired and we have to talk about it.
Or unless you're a Pittsburgh fan.
Yeah, unless you're a Pittsburgh fan and you're still arguing. That
Conversations this week. We'll get to it at the end. So we will touch on some of that stuff briefly, but you're right. One of the bummers of this head coaching firing, and like him or not, wanted to keep him or not, whatever you think of him, one of the bummers is it takes away from enjoying getting one more win at the end of the season, like you mentioned. And instead of recapping the game, there's just way bigger stories that are much more impactful to the team. So if he hadn't gotten fired, we'd be talking about okay, so we ended the season on 2 wins. How do they build on that? What comes next? And now it's those wins to me feel a little bit like they mean less, they matter less, because now you're going to have so many changes that it's not like you can just skip into next season off of this momentum.
I think it meant something to Stefanski, that last win, when you seen him walking off the field and happy and
probably
excited.
Meant something to a lot of the players. It just all of a sudden doesn't mean as much to us, to the fans or to the media, because nobody's talking about it. We've just moved. We have to move on now to the future instead of getting a chance to look at the past.
Hence the name of today's show.
Yeah. The hence of today, from Victory Sunday to Black Monday. It happened just like that. Kevin got up, went into the office. 2 minutes later, he left the office. It's it was sad to see, but yet here we are. Kevin had a good run here for a couple years. Baker years, Joe Flacco in 2023. A lot of good memories. We'll have to do a show of our top Kevin moments. Maybe have a little section there. Because Kevin, the thing is that's confusing is this, guys, and we're about to get into the notes right now. The predictions that we did kind of sort of match the actual totals. Chad actually was the closest. He said 5-7. I said 6-8, and Mike said 7-9.
We were all one off on our low.
Yeah, it was on, and we won 5. And I think Vegas had you 4.5,
4.5
to open, and they eventually moved it up to 5.5. And how many games did they win? 5.
So Vegas thought it was about 5. I thought it was about 5. You guys thought it was just above that, and then they end the season and it's 5, and people are shocked. Nobody saw this coming, apparently.
Okay. Do you honest question, do you guys think when Kevin Stefanski was excited at the end of the game, Sam said, Stefanski probably already had an idea of being let go before he walked off the field? Do you think that was excitement? Man, I'm finally done with this crap show over here.
I think it was more whether if he had an idea he was going, it's an exciting thing to have won your last 2 games, because they had terrible quarterback play. They had
Don't talk about our quarterback
clearly kept playing for him. It was easier probably for him to leave that on a high note, saying this is kind of resume stuff. Teams are watching. They don't think very highly of the Browns, but now they'll see that this team didn't quit on me and that I can still win. And we were an underdog in both of those games by quite a bit. And so, like, that would probably be a high note for him to be like, if that was his last, and even Cleveland, he probably has some good memories here for the start of his career. That is a nice high note to end on, even if you know you're going on to somewhere else. It must have been some vibe. He must
Angel
have
was right,
at least
though.
had an idea.
Angel was right. Said stop talking crap about our fan voted Pro Bowler quarterback.
Pro Bowl, man. Put some respect on it. Put some Tyler Huntley respect on it. All right.
Dad's licking his lips. He's ready for today.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you. But yeah,
well,
if you want,
there will be another show where we get into
Sanders. To bring into the technicalities of Sanders.
You know what's going to happen today.
Actually, it probably will get brought up because it is part of the whole press conference. Too, something got brought up that AB said.
The 44th. How do you not bring up the 44th rated quarterback on Sumer Sports and the 49th rated quarterback on PFF this year? We got to get to him, man.
Yeah, we got that. He's priority. He carries the show. No, so here is our graphic, Mike. If you want to pull it up, our graphic here. We had
wrong.
Yeah, I mean, so the Bengals. I mean, most of the wins came at the tail end. Believe it or not, I think was it Shador was four wins for Shador? No, not 4.
3.
Yeah, 4. 3.
He had 3 wins.
Oh
yeah, sorry, it was 4. You're right. No,
yeah,
4.
No. Joe Flacco had 1.
Yeah.
Joe had 1. Yeah,
on the Green Bay game.
Yeah, someone posted 4 and 2, and I thought that was weird, but I didn't question him on it.
No, it's wrong.
Now that I said that, it was 3. Yeah, he was 3 and 2.
They forgot Joe existed
division.
because I remember that post, and it said, "Well, Shador won 4 and Dylan won 1," and I was like, "What? Is that right?" But you're right. I should have looked closer to that.
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, man, he won 4." So I was trying to remember. I'm like, well, I guess if he won 4 games,
but if you look at our predictions,
like
we unfortunately fell short on some very winnable games. But I thought in the last third of the season, we were gonna. That's when our highest potential for wins were from the Jets on, and unfortunately, that's how it worked out. And by that time, I'm surprised because by that time I thought this team would be kind of done with the whole situation. And I was actually surprised to see that they were still cranking away. And maybe that does come with switching to Dylan after 4 games, switching to Shador 5 games later. And maybe that change did it didn't really equate to the wins we wanted, but maybe it did equate to some kind of continued, drive to play. Or maybe we just had so many young guys on the team that they're too naive to know, here we go again. This was half the team's first time doing this, and maybe the rookies and these sophomore guys were we're not beat up or torn down or mentally exhausted from having our first or maybe second bad season. Maybe they were whatever, we're gonna grow on that. We this is just our start.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin ends up being 45-56, 45 wins, 56 losses. His best season, 2020, 11-5. 2023 ended up being 11-6. Coach of the year, both of those years. The last 2 years killed him, man. He was 3-14 last year, 5-12 this year, 8 total wins in 2 years. According to Jimmy, that's just not good enough.
Can I do a quick bring up too? Because you mentioned the coach of the years. I gotta say, for anybody following us on social media, is you gotta stop saying you can't just hold on to Kevin because he won Coach of the Year awards. Nobody is putting this Coach of the Year award as okay, now that he's got this, it's a permanence. What people were holding on to that still think Kevin is a good coach is not that he won the awards. It's that the years he won the awards, he won, and he did. Both of them were incredible jobs. One was coming off a 7-win team that he turned into an 11-win team the next year with almost no crazy roster changes. The core of our team was still there. He just flipped them and added 4 more wins. And the year that they won 11 and went to the playoff, it was a year that you played
5.
You played Watson for 5 full games, 6 total games, and you went 4-1 or say 5-1 in those. Then you had that PJ Walker and DTR reign where you could only scrap 1 win. And then you brought in Joe Flacco at the end and won another 4. or 5. And so like,
yeah.
yeah, so nobody cares about the award. What we care about is those seasons where that stuff happened.
Well,
That
special.
just gave you the ability to understand, like, okay, so he can get this done. And
Yeah.
in not clean scenarios, it's not like he walked into a team that just was great and he took him to the playoffs, or he walked into a team. It's like the Ravens, like whoever walks into the Ravens, like that's a team, or the Falcons for that matter. Like those teams are around like 500 or better teams right now.
Yeah.
So like if you walk in there and you win 10 games, you're like, okay, you elevated a little. He walked into a team and
Double
elevated them
digits.
5 games once,
Yeah.
and then a team that, if you told me any starting franchise quarterback in the league was hurt after the 5th game of the season or whatever, I'd be like, well, then that's a bomb season. Like that team's not going to succeed. It's very rare they do. And so those were the things people held on to. So I just thought it was worth bringing up because people always get stuck on the award. Like anybody cares about the award. What
Yeah.
they care about
Also,
was the thing he did to earn the award.
Yeah. Yeah. And also to the year in 2024, 2023, he won 2 games with PJ Walker and 1 game with DTR.
That's crazy.
And my argument is this: he won 3 games with quarterbacks that are not even in the league right now.
Yeah, they've never won a game
that's
since.
yeah. So I mean,
Somebody
that's
told me
what makes
recently-
it that season great. And then Flacco comes off the couch and like coasts in there. But he's rumored. He's a hot candidate. Well, he was a hot candidate. I think that's going to change a little bit because the news just dropped
Still
today.
is, but yeah, he lost his
He lost a little mojo happening there, but he's a hot candidate. He's got an interview tomorrow with the Giants, probably, if they don't get on John real quick. Titans on Saturday. I don't know, and I haven't heard anything about the Falcons yet. On
Yeah,
whether they're going to interview.
It was reported that they've called him to interview, but I don't think there's a date set.
Yeah, they're gonna like, nah, don't call him back. We got John on the phone. Hold on.
They might.
Yeah, they might. They might just pass over him. But
I would be surprised. So I heard from John Fanta today that the Giants are so excited about him that he feels like if he doesn't sign ahead of time or if he doesn't have other options, it's a done deal. He said that like ownership group and the players on that team are like fully from his sources, and he lives in Jersey. From his sources, he said
I can see that.
If he wants to coach there, he's going to coach there. But that was before Harbaugh was let go.
Yeah, and Jackson Dart put his name. He said, "I like Stan. I like him. I think he's a great coach."
A lot of people feel the way the national media. We've been saying this all year. The national media likes him. They respect him. They think he's doing a better job than our fans or the local media as far as Kevin. But the other thought is like, there's still that vibe out there that the Browns are the Browns. And, if a quarterback doesn't do well there, he's worth picking up because the Browns probably messed it up. Or if a coach, like of this level or an offensive coordinator leave the Browns, we've had a ton of offensive coordinators go on to have like offensive coordinator jobs other places and succeed. People just feel like, well, you can't really judge him on the Browns because they're so bad.
Yeah,
that we'll give him a shot.
Earl,
I have a merely impossible scenario to mention to you guys, and I sent it in the chat earlier. I'm so glad we're live because now the chat can end. My phone will shut up, thankfully. But guys, can you imagine Kevin Stefanski goes to Baltimore, John Harbaugh comes to Cleveland? Just on
Dude, that would be crazy.
Yes,
that would be like, so weird.
The AFC
Just
North
imagine.
rival will be insane.
Yeah, it would be. I told them in the chat that we'll take their coach because they took our team. It's even swap.
Yeah, you
Fair
owe
enough.
us. And Mike, I'm going to answer this question. Earl has a good question. My question is: was the 2 winning seasons more about Kevin Stefanski coaching or the play of the quarterback?
I think it was
So the
what he
11-5 win. Go ahead.
I think it was what he overcame those 2 seasons. There was still injuries were piling up both of those years. Your quarterback issues still were there, not as harsh as they are now, but yeah, it's just one of those things that made him coach of the year. And the way I look at it is the coach of the year thing is just another participation trophy. You got to give it to somebody. He managed to overcome and win games, so he got it. Thank you.
Also,
Kevin.
too, I mean, you point to the quarterback in 2023, he had 5. So yeah, it definitely was coaching. Because if you win with 5 different quarterbacks,
right,
and you end up with 11-6, and you go into the playoffs with 5 different quarterbacks, that shows that his coaching. Also, Baker came off his worst year as a Brown, throwing 21
worst
interceptions
year of
with
his
Freddie
career.
Kitchens. Worst year of his career, and he
Terrible.
comes back, and Kevin fixes them, and they go 11-5. That's coaching. It's coaching, and I think they won the playoffs that year. They beat Pittsburgh.
And my point from earlier was like, when Kevin goes in this interview, he's not going to say, "Guys, I was 2-time coach of the year." When they say, "What are your best accomplishments?" He's not going to bring up the award. He's going to say, "Oh my gosh, well in 2023, we thought we had everything rolling with Watson. That whole scheme, offensive plan, and goal for the season was to go through with him. Then when he went down and we were reeling because we had already traded our backup quarterback, so then we had, that's what he's going to talk about. He's not going to say the award. He's going to describe the scenario and like what they had to overcome, and like the players stepped up. Did this. Our coordinators came up with this different offense to play with Flacco, and it's more about the process of what he did than like the end result of the award.
Who else do we have to thank for bringing up those 5 quarterbacks?
Man, so many. 13. By the way, 13 quarterbacks in his tenure here that he started, which, again, show me a coach who had 13 quarterbacks over any 5-year period and was successful. And the crazy thing is, it's not like he had 13.
Not just 13. Because the 13 he had. Let's be more specific.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So you're right. No, you're right. Okay. No, that was not where I was going. Yeah, he had 13.
The 13 he had,
and only about one of them has been any good. But I guess where I was going to say is like, it's different if you have like your backup and maybe your third stringer have to come in for a game. He was playing backups and third stringers for 5, 6 games a season. Sometimes the backup and third stringer played more games than the starter. In fact, most seasons the backups played more than the starter, except for 2020. I guess 2021, our starter just shouldn't have been out there. We should have had our backup playing because our starter just could not play with
did
that
what
injury.
he did what he did this year, and it's weird how Baker's having the same year in his contract year in Tampa is the same year with the same shoulder, same bum shoulder, and the same way he went out is how he went out. Well, not the same way, but he went out of the playoffs.
It's more concerning.
But I do
now.
have this. I do have an answer to your question, Harry Clark. He asked stats. How many third downs did we convert with Kevin as a head coach percentage wise? I could give you an answer to that. It's 36.2%.
And would you know what like the league averages or what the lows and high are?
I can get that for you. But Kevin's
like
gone
42 or 43%. It's not much higher than that, but I think we are the lowest, I believe. But I do have a question for you guys. So I'm gonna answer the question and then I'll ask it. I am 50-50 on the let go of Kevin thing. Part of me, as you watch these games throughout the years, we've yelled at the screen so many times, get rid of Kevin. Kevin, you're the problem. Call different plays. Give up the play calling, whatever. But there was some kind of stability here with him as well. And that's what kind of makes it a little more rough. I especially think for the fans that did adore him because of what he did throughout those other couple of years. But what do you guys think? Where do you guys stand with that?
Well, I think your point is, if I'm hearing you correctly, like there's some like, even if you had times where you wanted him fired, there's some bittersweetness because you did lose somebody that has some ability. By the way, I was able to look it up. The average third down conversion rate in the NFL is typically around 39%. 39% a year.
All right. I knew we weren't so far behind.
But you're not far off.
Yeah, it's not like
we're crazy. It's not like, oh, it bombed you. No, I mean 36%. I mean,
when
we
still
with the quarterbacks that we played, and with the quarterbacks we played, like
it's hard.
Again, it's pretty good for not having a franchise quarterback for your tender. And by the way, this isn't like the Kevin Stefanski show. Like I've even said this, and I was probably his biggest like proponent on the show. He won 8 games in the last 2 years. Like you had the appropriate reasoning to fire him in this kind of bottom line business. I just say if you're looking deeper and if you're looking to like the potential candidates coming up, and if you're looking at where does this job stack against the others, the people that were super excited to fire him, I just think we're looking at the big picture of it's not the best scenario that you think it is, and the grass may not be greener. And that's my worry. That's my pause. And I think some of Mike's too, from what he was saying, like, sure, there's days you're like, this guy's not getting it done. But then when you get a chance to sit back and look at it, you're like, yeah, but who would be getting it done? And like, who's going to come in here and fix this? And we're going to get into that soon.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. For me is I was off Kevin for a little bit this year, then I got back on because then I looked at the bigger scope of this team, and then I realized personally, probably what Chad sees, Kevin is a issue, but I think the bigger issue is the lack of talent in which he was able to work with. And I think it's unfair just to solely my point is why we'll get to that point later. But yeah, I think Kevin's not the only one that we should be blaming for the 8 wins and 2 losses and 2 seasons. But Kevin's he didn't have a good year the last 2 years. 15 points per game this year, 15.8, I'm sorry. 263 yards per game, 4.1 per play. EPA was negative 1.4, tied for 31st. Every one of those statistics is either 30 or down. And you can't bring I get why you can't bring a guy like that. And they look at these statistics and they see it, especially as analytical as they are. They can't ignore 2 seasons of that and then, move on and try to convince themselves to bring him back next year, which will be the same quarterback room, most likely.
Yeah. They were justified in firing him. And my only thought is like, if you don't have a good solution to fill in at coach and quarterback, I'm worried we're looking at a short-term solution where another guy comes in, can't succeed because this is not at least at the moment, pre-draft, it's not a successful environment. And I don't want to do that thing where we're like, oh, okay, so then a year or 2 passes, whichever, we didn't get it done, and now we're looking for the next regime. And you're like, that's such a bummer. If you were going to have to do like another jump regime, I would rather you just held steady and kept some consistency. So if that's not the case, if we get the guy, it's like, okay, I'm open to that possibility. But you're right. That is the worry. Like what changed your mind back has been my worry the whole time is this somewhere that someone is set up for success and can people.
And we'll get into Barry's press conference. He admitted it. He not
Weird
those
flex.
words, but he admitted it quite a few times that the offense is an issue and it needs to be addressed.
It was a weird back and forth, right? Where it was like, yeah, we didn't win enough games like we should have. We don't really have the talent we need to win. And I was like,
but you should still win. It's like, what?
Right. It was a back and forth of like, but we should have won more. And it's like, okay.
Okay, sure.
I think that wheel came up again, Chad, today, actually, where I was telling you in the beginning of the year, defense wins championships. We got this as long as we can score some points, we'll be all right. And it was kind of funny how that turned around. Did you guys remember that? Those 2 or 3 games that the Browns defense did have where the run game, right after Malik was put on IR, the run game just fell off a shelf.
Yeah, but especially for 2 games, we got roasted. But the other thing is the defense without enough offense to support it, the defense just gets tired and offenses outlast them. And that's happened several times this year where did you guys know this? We had the lead. I think I read we had the lead in either 13 or 14 different games this season at some point. So this is not a year like last year where we just couldn't get it. It's like we had a lead at some point in 13 or more games. And eventually, because it was so defensive driven, the dam broke or they fatigued or something went wrong on special teams and it just flipped on us. And that's what happens when you can't get your offense to even score consistent field goals. You eventually just leave another team an opportunity and they all believe, we'll just keep playing. And even if it's in the 4th quarter, we'll come back and we'll win because they know you can't score.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's great. Those 3 defensive games where the defense fell off a shelf, the offense actually stepped up and was scoring points in those games. That's what it was just a flip flop.
Yeah.
Like, all right, let's do that. Let's not do that. I'm sorry.
To transition to our next segment here. John says, I get what you're saying about stability, but this season showed how we lost a lot. He lost the locker room. I don't agree with that. It was
Yeah, I didn't
a
think so.
right time
They
for
wouldn't have won
a
the last
change.
2 games if he
Yeah,
lost the locker room.
and they were competitive against Buffalo if it wasn't
Yep.
for 3 interceptions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go
The offense lost
yeah,
that game, but they
yeah,
played hard throughout the whole game for the coach.
yeah.
All December, they played hard in the crappy cold, in this terrible situation with no hope. It's just there. Last year, I think you could make the case. Veterans were tired. Myles was a big voice in there. Like, they're not trying to win. They're not giving us the best position to win. They have other priorities, and I think they did lose the locker room as an organization last year. This year, it just felt like they just kept grinding, like
Yeah.
they never stopped.
But he continued to ask uh who do you think will bring the best culture to develop all the young talent? And that's where we get into the head coaching candidates that we've seen so far. Now there's a couple that they've interviewed or requested to interview, sorry. But the ones that are top, like big names, like Flores, Kubiak, now John Harbaugh, he's on that list. Those are culture. I mean, John and Flores has to be on your top, right? You would think those two are your main
There's
guys,
still
not
that
Flores.
demographic of people that think that Flores will never be a head coach again because he sued
Oh,
the
really?
NFL
I don't think
over
he'd be a
his
head coach here, but I could see him coaching like Atlanta,
To those
Vegas.
to those people, most of them also said he would just never be in the NFL again, and he's back already. So
Yeah,
the NFL could be pretty forgiving if they think you can help them win,
win.
as we saw with Deshaun Watson and with Shador Sanders. Like,
I'll
both
tell
of
you
them
what, he's
had
gonna be
some
pretty
kind of
pissed when he
baggage.
comes here and sees Jimmy has him.
Maybe we deserve it.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that's the best thing that could happen to us.
If I had to pick my 3 guys, it'd be Harbaugh, Flores, and McCarthy. Out of those 3, that'd be my 3.
I like McCarthy. McCarthy's growing on me.
Yeah, I'm not a big McCarthy guy.
Well,
I just
because
don't
a
like
lot of
winning
people say
record.
if you keep McCarthy, you can probably keep Jim as your defensive coordinator.
Maybe.
A lot of people are
Maybe.
saying that. Maybe.
It depends.
Earl, the man booth, said the players were playing for each other all season long. I would say I would agree with that too. And I think that definitely that defense in that last
There's
game against
camaraderie.
Cincinnati was playing for Myles. They
Yeah.
wanted
And
Myles
like
to
I
get
said,
that sack.
you're right, and I think, like, that helped drive, but even the offense, like, you had a whole new offensive line at the end. It was Joel Bitonio and a bunch of kids. So, like,
Yeah.
they're not worn out from the season. They started coming in, like, late November, and this was their shot. Like, KT Levinson was not gonna stop trying. Zach Zinter barely got a chance to be out there, but he's gonna grind. Luke Whippler was not gonna stop trying. Like, these guys, Tevin Jenkins needs to make a team. There were other reasons. Did you think Isaiah Bond or Malachi Corley were gonna stop trying their hardest? Like, you had a lot of guys on this team who either were young and naive or are, like,
Yeah.
playing for their lives. It wasn't like a normal season where you have a lot of veterans who are like, "I can't wait to get out of here." Like, these guys are
Yeah.
young, and they know they're gonna be here, and they didn't quit.
So there's 7 job openings, plenty of options of those who, if they want to be, especially with assistants or OCs that are slowly coming out. 7 job openings: Falcons, Giants, Raiders, Browns, Cardinals, Titans, now Ravens. So as order, like if you're a coach and these jobs are opening up, what is your job? Like which one would hope would call you first?
Curious. I'd like to know. Yeah. What's everybody's thoughts for first? Because I have my first, and I've heard a lot of people do not share my opinion on the first.
You go first, then.
I will say it got tainted because this conversation all happened throughout the week before Harbaugh got fired. My number 1 was the Falcons, and I thought it was easy. Like, they've got both Kirk Cousins, so you got a veteran on the squad next year, and they have Michael Penix, so you have a young first-round quarterback to work with and develop for the future. They've got Bijan Robinson at running back and Tyler Algier, but Bijan Robinson especially. They've got Drake London as your lead receiver, and you've got Kyle Pitts as your lead tight end, getting towards like the prime of a tight end's career.
Yeah.
The offensive line is decent. I look at that team And if I'm like a head coach, I'm going, okay, at least I know we've got the pieces in place to score points. And they won their last 4 out of their last 5 games to end the
Yeah.
season. I'm feeling like that's a lock to walk into. And a lot of people thought that was not their favorite.
Yeah, I would have picked without taking the Ravens off because they were on their last second on their last second. I would have picked the Giants because I think the Giants offensively are there. They got their running
That's what a
back.
lot of people picked.
Yeah, they got the young neighbors, and they're in a position to get another running back if they wanted to,
Okay.
or they can flip that pick and fix the defense, get another edge rusher or Caleb Downs to fix the backfield of it. So yeah, I would have picked the Giants over the Falcons. It
What
would have
about
been
you, Mike?
Giants. It would have been Giants, Raiders actually, Falcons,
Oh, see?
Titans,
Crazy.
Browns, and then Cardinals.
It's crazy just because I was like, "Oh my god, Falcons, that's a lock." Like, for me, it was like, "Oh, easiest one for me." And then yeah, and so what about you, Mike? Do
I
you have a do you have a favorite?
It's possibly the Giants, and
You
then
guys both like the Giants, huh?
the Titans. Yeah.
I think my difference might be I'm not that cuckoo for Jackson Dart. I think he's a really risky kind of
yes.
quarterback. And then having Malik Neighbors and Cam Scatterboo both coming off of like season-ending injuries and surgeries, I am just a little more tentative. Like that's a more questionable situation. Like Neighbors is better than London, but if you're giving me Bijan, Pitts, and London, and a decent
Atlanta's
offensive
got
line
and
and a
their
couple of
defense
young
is pretty
offensive
good.
players,
They
yeah, they
got
got a
2
couple
edge
of young offensive
rushers.
players.
Yeah.
So I'm like, give me that and let
Yeah.
me
Good
build
point.
from a. And they went 8-9 2 seasons in a row. That's what I want to walk into, a team that fired their coach that was right about that is just on the brink, and I just got to get them over the top. But
And they're in a
and
bad
I look at
division.
yeah, yeah, and
That
that's a win.
helps.
Yeah,
That definitely
so
helps. Is from a coach perspective, like I can win there because Todd Bowles probably hanging on by a thread. Baker, what are they
decent
going to do
city.
with him? You know, and I mean, you played tough, like you said, last 4 or 5 games.
So I don't know what your guys' thought is now. So now that the Ravens' job is available, does that move to your guys' number one?
I think you
Clearly.
would have to, yeah, because that organization is. I mean, they're kind of like Pittsburgh. I mean, they seem to pick the right guys at certain times. Now they haven't picked a good receiver for Lamar, obviously, other than Flowers and Likely, but just recently they
Yeah.
started picking up
Can I
good
call
receivers
something
for
real
'em.
quick?
Yes.
The last decade, we have hated every Harbaugh like with a passion.
from
And
Michigan.
today,
to
now
Baltimore. we want
after
him.
he gets fired from the
I
Ravens,
still hate
there's some praise.
both Harbaughs.
Listen, I
I
told him in
just
the group
think
chat.
that is the
I
one
told him.
coaching candidate that you are like, at least there's a actual reason to be optimistic. And people are always talking about they're from Ohio, and we've always kind of thought of them as traitors because they go to Michigan, they go, they coach the Ravens, stuff like that. But I think
They're Ohio
it's
kids.
somebody for me that like Browns fans, I think would get on board with, and like they never really got on board with Kevin, and so I almost was like covering this team. I'd almost rather just have a coach come in there that people are on board with. And I don't like him, but I could learn to like him if he wins games.
Yeah, that's,
I mean,
that's what I was going to go with that. I'd rather just
Yeah.
have a winning coach no matter the circumstances,
Yeah.
but that's going to be
I didn't
hard
like
to find.
Deshaun Watson. I was like, if he comes in here and we go 11-6, I will ignore all the massage stuff and I will move on. I liked Baker better. I like Baker is more fun to me. But like if he came in and he was winning, I'd get on board. I think it's like, okay.
Yeah, the best thing about John not being in Baltimore anymore is there's an opportunity for you to finally flip the switch in this division and take a couple games, at least one, because they used to. He was good for a couple years.
Do you guys feel like
Gruden? We forgot Gruden, guys. I'm sorry.
I'm not even worried about Gruden.
Somebody bring up Gruden in the chat.
Did someone say
always
Gruden?
every time I talk about on X in a group, somebody says Gruden. Always.
Yeah,
that's why we did that Gruden like tag. But I'll remind everybody, following after the year 2010, which was a long time ago, in the last 15 years, he has had 0 winning seasons and his record in the modern chunk of this NFL career is like 30% win rate. That's so much worse than
He's
Kevin.
5
Like
games above 500.
Well, speaking of modern, Chad, I'll email you his stats.
Done.
It's just
Got that joke,
in case
right?
you.
Please tell me you got that.
I don't know. I don't like Gruden. Never liked Gruden. I understand he won a Super Bowl with Tampa, and I understand
like
he can
this
develop some quarterbacks. I like his podcast. I like his character. I like that he's funny. The Chucky thing, that's great. But keep me away from him.
I'm just ready for a modern coach.
Yeah.
Even like Harbaugh might be experienced, but like he's been coaching and winning recently. We got to stop talking. I guarantee if you go on Facebook, somebody will say, "Bring in Bill Cowher." Like, guys, that era is over. At least pick somebody realistic.
He doesn't.
You know what I want?
to
You know what I want?
An NFL name.
I want a guy that can schematically come in here, figure out this team, and work a scheme around each individual player that's going to work. Not come in here and say, "Hey, this is my scheme. This is the way we're running."
And I got to be honest, I don't know who that is. So we're going to talk about these names. Like we said, the guys on the board that have been talked about, linked, are Flores, Schwartz, Kubiak, Harbaugh, McCarthy, Mike McDaniels. I don't think Josh McDaniels anymore, but in the past he was. Like, there's this whole list of guys that we could like dive into any one of them. Like, at least they're all like.
That's why we're laughing at. Andrew would like Gruden if he was Coach Pickett.
Yeah,
come on. Guys. So last year, guys, I'm over that.
But I guess my point is like we never know. Like Harbaugh was a special teams coach before the Ravens picked him up. Like everybody links like, oh, you're a hot offensive coordinator. When you come in, your offense will be good. But you're no longer the offensive coordinator, and you're no longer the quarterback guy once you're the head coach. So like we just don't know. No matter how good these guys are at their coordinator roles, like what are their philosophies as a head coach? Who would they bring in as their offensive coordinator? Is it somebody good, or is it somebody they just came up with and are friends with? So like there's always these unknowns. You can't really relate coordinator success or like mediocrity to like head coaching success. But when you look at these past coaches who have just recently been head coaches and their situations, that's why they're easier to talk about, because we know what Harbaugh has done with Flacco, with Lamar. We know what Flores did in Miami with Tua. We know what McCarthy did recently in Dallas. What we don't know is like we have no idea what Kubiak is like.
Yeah,
we know what Schwartz did with. We know what Schwartz did, and it wasn't pretty, by the way, with in Detroit with
Calvin
a
Johnson.
Hall of Fame quarterback and receiver.
He wasn't good.
Before we get into that part, I just want somebody, one, obviously to win games. I want somebody, two, I always said I wanted like a Bill Cowher-esque guy, always somebody that's going to tell these guys what they need to do, when they need to do it, and kind of it's your job to come out here and play football. I would love to have that job. I mean, I'm sure you guys would as well. I want a coach that shows some discipline. If you're Jerry Jeudy and you're dropping as many balls as you are, you're sitting out a couple plays, dude, until you learn how to catch a ball or put some stick up on something. I'm not going to let you go back out there and make the same error over and over and over again.
That pass in Cincinnati, bobbled that.
I know. Oh my god! He hasn't caught a pass.
I thought of Mike. I was like, if he would have dropped that, Mike probably would have came to my house, started beating up trees.
I was at my father-in-law.
Have we seen him even make a clean catch with his hands that don't hit his shoulder pads or face mask at some point? How is that? I just like sit at the jugs for hours, put tape all over your hands to like make it harder, and then just keep catching and don't let it touch your body. Like it's the easiest drill ever.
That's how you know the NFL isn't scripted. There's no magnets in the balls, that's for sure. Because he ain't catching
former Buckeye and Vikings receiver Carter said he used to cut a tennis ball in half, and he would put a rubber band through it or rope, and he would put a half a tennis ball in each hand, so it stuck out like that. And then he would catch passes all day at the jugs, and if you even were off, it would hit the tennis ball and like ricochet. So he had to learn to catch with his fingers out, so that the ball didn't hit the tennis balls. And like that's how he's like, that's why I didn't drop balls, because I found a way to train where I could make sure I couldn't do it. And like I look at a guy that has a drop problem. Like, if you're not doing every possible thing, yeah, we need to find a coach that holds somebody to a different standard. I will agree. Like, I like Kevin. People don't like his demeanor. I liked the evenness. I don't know what he was like behind the scenes, but if you are not going to be
Well,
that guy as a head coach, you better hire coordinators who are fired up because it 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 has an effect on players, but even more so, like, this city is never going to have your back if you or your coordinators aren't spitting when you talk. It's just Cleveland
it's just
wants spitters.
Oh, so I get that, but listen, and you've all heard that Jim Schwartz wants his players to celebrate when they make a good play. I'm going to tell you right now, when you're a 4-12 team and you do
shouldn't be
dumb flips in the end zone and
Yeah.
get penalties for your kicker to show up, and finally, everybody after that game.
No, that was the
loves the
Marshawn
kid.
Lynch crotch grab. That's what they did.
Yeah, but you can't
That's
do
crazy.
that, man. It's
Yeah,
just
I can't.
stupid. You're 4-12, dude. Don't be too cocky.
And you know
It's
who would
your
have
last
been
game of the year.
blamed
It
for
shows
that?
nothing.
Schmitty would have been blamed for missing those field goals because they pushed him back 20 yards, and
Well,
that's
just
pretty shady.
It goes
Good
to show
thing he
that we
did.
got a good,
good
we have
kicker.
a good kicker now. We didn't draft this guy either, like Cade York, so we're good there.
Yeah.
I forget
we
who
have
told me
a
to draft
kicker.
a
It was
kicker the
brought
other
up in
day.
Andrew Barry's press conference. Since you brought it up now, I might as well mention it. The weirdest thing, or Haslam's press conference, he talked about Barry. He's like, hey, he was able to navigate and find this kicker. I'm like, he was the one that gave Hopkins that big contract after one season and signed him to like a 4-year extension. He's also, the one that drafted a bad kicker in the 4th round. What are you talking about? He found a kicker. It took him 6 years. And he
took him 6 years.
Fumbled everywhere. He had to he had to bring our backup kicker in as like a last ditch Hail Mary for the season. Like, that's the thing you're giving him credit for in your press conference about why you're impressed with him and why you kept him. Because he resiliently kept finding kickers after he failed to find one for 5 straight years.
Jimmy Haslam's quote was, I think Andrew over the last year has done a very good job. Very efficient free agency. Example, Malik Collins as a leader. We would agree with that. Trade and draft. Added picks added 4 rookies that were all rookie caliber. His quote was, Carson has a really good chance to be the NFL Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Unprecedented move by getting kicker Andre Smitty. Perseverance story. He's like, it's a great lesson. He missed his kicking and we stuck with him. It's like, if you would have cut him after one game, like, I mean, he's a rookie. Like, we didn't know the story behind the fact that he lost his mom and he was emotionally unbalanced that time, right? So I was like, if you would have kicked, I mean, we on the podcast were like, well, he's a rookie. He's gonna let's let him bake a little bit, and then it worked out. But he gave him credit for all that. He gave him basically, he gave him credit for last year and ignored the last 5 years.
He gave him
what he did doesn't matter.
He gave him the recency bias pass by saying, because we can all agree Kevin has had 2 shit seasons in a row, but he's had 2 seasons where you're like, wow, he did amazing stuff with the pieces he was given. I think you can only say that once about Andrew Barry. And I think Andrew Barry had pretty good, he only brought in 2 free agents, and one of them was outstanding, and that's great. He's also 31 and had a season-ending injury, so he's not any part of our future, probably, unfortunately. Yep. But he did a great job in the draft. It helps that he got a fortunate extra second-round pick and a high one from the Jaguars. But the guys he would have picked, even without Judkins, I'm sure would have been great. But it does feel like just what you said, he, just because his best year was his most recent year, that's what they were going off of. Not the fact that he had to have such a good year this year because he had to fix so many roster problems from the past that he was part of creating. And I'm not the person who thinks he's all to blame for Deshaun Watson. I think he was the one who initially started that direction. I believe the reports that he pulled back and thought the price was too high and wouldn't have gone there if it weren't for the ownership making them go there. But he is the one that opened that can of worms of how about Deshaun Watson? So he just did a good enough job this year to fix some things that he had gotten wrong the previous several. And
I think he totally redeemed himself this year. One, and 2 for the Deshaun Watson crap that everybody we'll never know who did that, why it was done. We know why it was done because this franchise finally went out on a limb and went after a big quarterback that was elite and then turned out to be a turd. Could that have been because of this team? We'll never know that either. We might find that out this year.
Yeah, I think it mostly was because of injuries. People bring up too often to me, well, he sucked before the injuries, but record was what, 5-1 before that, where he fractured his shoulder. Like, yeah, he didn't look as good as he looked in the Texas offense, but he didn't suck, or we wouldn't have been winning so many games back then. So I get that a lot, but I think the injuries, it's hard for somebody that's so injury focused to not think no quarterback succeeds when they miss 11 games from suspension. Then the next year they miss 11 games for a fractured shoulder, and the next year they miss 11 games for an Achilles tear, and then in the rehab process they re-tear the Achilles. Like, there is no quarterback who overcomes that during a 4-year period when you literally only get to play 17 games over 4 years. You're not going to be.
Well, that's why Cleveland is so upset because, you have Baker Mayfield that was winning games. The whole controversy went down with him and Deshaun Watson, and then Deshaun Watson's baggage, then the injuries, it all piled up, and then everybody's seen Baker doing well at the Bucs. It just that's
Baker's
why
Baker is what we thought he was, though. A lot of people, and I was even pushed back on it. I guess I'll say I was a little wrong on this. I thought Baker could turn into, over time, an elite quarterback. And I know he had a really good run to start the season, but 5 years later, he looks like what most people thought, and that was just an average NFL starter who, when things are good around him, can take you to the playoffs, but not go all the way. And when things are a little rougher around him, it can crumble, and you end up being around 500. And I still think that's a franchise quarterback, but people were probably right. He probably was more of a middle-of-the-pack franchise quarterback. He never really developed then. So
he's
the sad news is
58 wins and 62 losses in his career in 8 years.
Yeah. So I've said this over and over, and it's just worth bringing up before we move on. I've compared Kevin Stefanski to Baker Mayfield for the longest time because, much like Baker, I think people are like, you think he's incredible. No, I think he's just pretty good, and I'm a little nervous that if you move on from him, you have to bring in somebody after him who's better, and now we're 5 years removed from Baker, and we have never gotten someone out there who's better. That's why I was nervous firing Stefanski, because not that I don't think there's a better coach, that I don't know if we will be able to find a better coach than him. I think Stefanski is the Baker of coaches. He's good enough that 1 or 2 years you could be like, whoa, these years were amazing. Baker was in the MVP race earlier. He's been a playoff quarterback. He's won a playoff game. It's just
little did you know Baker's only had 3 winning seasons in his career. 3.
Yeah.
And yet this is the fan base is pining and crying about him every time he goes out and throws a 3 interception game. Yeah. He's won his 3 games. His average record in the 17 game season averages out to 8-9, below 500.
Yeah. Do you guys remember that X post that I made that went completely viral? I woke up the next day and we're like, holy crap, dude. And then Chad's like, this is so wrong. Why'd you post that? And that's how we're right. It's exactly what we expected. In a worse division.
And the worst division.
He is, and he's average, and people told me he was average, and like I said, I thought he would get better because he doesn't look that different to me, right? He's looked better in 2024 and 2023, but in 2025, he looked a whole lot like 2020 to me. Yeah. And I watched several of his games, and I don't know how he looks statistically, but he's got some weapons there. I just thought, he looked around a similar quarterback. So I guess that many years later, he never hit that top 5 or to 10 level place. Yeah. He's probably more closer to 15. And again, I would say the same for Stefanski. Maybe he's not a top 5 head coach in the league, but is he a top 15 NFL head coach? Top 20? Maybe. And if he is, then you better hope the next person you bring in is better than that, or you're going to feel stupid for letting him go, just like you did with Baker, despite the fact that he's just pretty good.
So this is the standard. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I almost wore my Baker shirt tonight. I lost 30 pounds and I fit in that bad boy again.
You can wear it. Look at that, 30 pounds, dog. That's after the holidays too. The qualities in which Jimmy wants in a coach, he says this: good leader, obviously, smart in terms of IQ and EQ. A lot of people are wondering, what does EQ mean? I looked it up, but then I looked up Baker's stats. EQ means emotional quotient. Basically
it's just
have
IQ is intelligence,
and then
EQ is emotional intelligence.
yeah, like basically he wants an emotional coach, whether he's high, low. I think they exactly what Mike said. Exactly what most of Cleveland wants, Chad. I think they're going to zero in on the guy that spits a lot. Spits a lot.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin was so flatlined even emotionally. I think it even threw some of the team off to where they couldn't relate to him, or where they, he's just maybe dry humor type of guy. I don't know. But that was interesting that he pointed out that EQ was very specific.
Yeah. And just for the record, because I have a fairly good background in EQ, just because I have a psychology degree. So like you have to learn some about that stuff when you're talking about degrees about like counseling, psychology, and EQ means like two ways. So it's do you understand and can you like control and harness your own emotions? But it's also, which I actually think Kevin, he wasn't like emotionally as vibrant as people wanted, but I think he was very emotionally controlled. He never lost his cool. He never like spun out of control during crazy situations. He never panicked. But I think the other half of it, and the half that like, if you're not going to be an emotionally super fun guy for fans, like the other half of emotional intelligence is, can you control and impact the emotions of other guys around you, your coaches, your players? And I think we probably would all agree Kevin did not fire up the players. He did not like he may have been good at like interacting with the players. They like him, but I don't know that he pushed and like really drove the emotions of his players, or we wouldn't have seen a lot of what we saw over the last couple of years.
Hey, so you turned your camera off there, Chad, but like Sam says, emotional damage, ED. You guys know during the texts during the game, my erectile dysfunction is horrible. I mean, emotional damage is horrible.
It's horrible.
Completely bad. You guys have witnessed it through text during the games. Chad just ignores us during the games. His EQ is like there. He's like meditating watching the game.
Mike's
That's what Chad does.
Mike when Mike is not what Haslam is looking for. Not a guy that like when things run high, the situation is like the most stressful. He wants a guy that can like control his emotions. Mike at the same time is throwing a table over and screaming at the TV.
I'm that guy. I'm spitting on players like Bill Cowher did.
A couple more things.
A better defensive coordinator, firing people up than he would be a head coach, like keeping everything in check.
So a couple of things from Jimmy's presser, then we're going to Andrew's real quick. He said Watson's shadow did have an impact, yes, on roster building. Obviously, he had to tell the truth there. But he is denying the dysfunction in Witches and Berea. He says, I take huge exception to that. The two of them, Kevin and Stefanski, worked like this very extremely well, which could be true. But he did admit to that there were heated moments, just like any time. And I'm sure those heated moments were as of late, especially during the draft time. But his was very quick, 15 minutes, and he was gone, done. But he did get heated because he took offense. He took offense to the fact that someone said it is a dysfunctional franchise. He said, "I'm just going to stop you right there." And then he said,
"He's full."
Yeah, he's like, he was getting so. He's like, "We're not dysfunctional."
If it was dysfunctional, would our coach and GM get along so well? You don't have a coach anymore, so
that's right.
Obviously, there's a problem.
I do want to touch on something. I know we're talking about Andrew Berry, but when Haslam was like, "We do listen to the fans," I'm like, "Dude, you do not listen to the fans at all." I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And he said that he understands our pain. You don't understand our pain, man. You don't. You may as a person. Actually, I disagree with that.
You make money off this misery. We spend our money on this misery. We're buying this misery.
We're not the same.
Jimmy, you are making more and more money off of our misery. That's not the same.
Yeah, Jimmy, we're built different.
It's the same thing I said about Myles Garret when he's like, this means this is just as bad for me. And I'm like, I believe it is bad for you. I believe it's hard to play on a team that's losing. But you also got $40 million this year and you make $45,000 a snap. I spend all my time and money on you and I get nothing.
I agree. I guess he could say that he has pain too, because as an owner, you don't want to be the owner in the owners meeting that has the worst team every year. So I can understand maybe from that perspective as a billionaire who has the worst team and he's probably getting frustrated. Sure. But as somebody who's like runs a podcast and has to talk about it and try to defend,
get your head out of your ass and stop meddling. We'll be all right.
Almost nothing. I also think like there is a small aspect of like there is a difference to the frustration when you make a choice and it goes bad to when you don't get any say in the choice and you think it's a bad one and you just watch it go bad.
On to Andrew Berry. He had a press conference that was pretty lengthy and probably 40 minutes.
Wait. There was one more thing I wanted to say about Haslam, so I'm so sorry.
Okay. No, you're good.
When Haslam jumped up there and said that he's going to give the reins over to Berry to find our new coach. He said Andrew Berry and the ownership are going to work very hard. I wanted to remember here's my EQ punching my radio in my truck like stop meddling, you idiot. Like, dude,
him and his his son and his
JW
wife will never not be involved. And like I heard it, I knew it. I was like, but he tries to like sneak it in there. Like Andrew Berry is going to be leading this coaching search with us too.
With me. According to people down in Columbus, Dee Haslam's doing a great job with Columbus Crew though. So maybe he should lean on her a little bit. I mean, just saying, add some women. I mean,
just get into soccer and sell this team to an owner who's competent. That's another option.
That could be an option.
Maybe you're better at soccer.
Yeah. Speaking of
can't talk crap about soccer right now.
Yeah, I can't talk. We can, but
I like that's what our last owner did. He sold the Browns and he went to run a soccer team. Yeah, that's totally fine.
A shout out for soccer this weekend. Our other podcast, Let's Go Crunch, will be at the Cleveland Crunch game this Saturday at 7 p.m. Everybody go to theclevelandcrunch.com/tickets to get yourself some tickets to go to the Cleveland Crunch game. It's already 3,000 sold. I don't know how many more they're going to be, but good luck on getting them.
No promotion code here. Just buy the ticket. There's no discount.
Speaking of promotion, this bitching and these coaches that we've talked about are probably brought to you by Cleveland Ketchup. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do have some sponsors we need to run through. Shout out to Cleveland Ketchup. Use the code bearded.com to get 10% off. And then Bearded Bastard barbecue sauce. Go to beardedbastard.com. Use the code bearded15 and get your barbecue sauce and coffee and go get your ketchup and mayo. Oh, by the way, that Chipotle mayo. My wife made me a nice smash burger this weekend, and I made some homemade sweet potato fries. My gosh, that Chipotle mayo, fire! Not hot.
Mayo for me, little self props here. Mayo, I'm probably looking to getting more than mustard. I'm on my second day of a keto diet. You guys can probably tell my skin is glowing. I'm so skinny and muscular, like you've never recognized before. I figure 48, 72 hours is pretty much what it takes to become incredibly impressive. But I am super excited to eat mayo again because I never eat mayo. And when you do a high-fat diet, you got to start slogging like mayo and oil on everything. Mayo, butter, and oil.
Add with like that squirt thing of sour cream.
You said Chipotle mayo, and I was like, oh, I get to go pick up some
Chipotle mayo is good, man. That Cleveland Ketchup one. They don't make a bad product, I tell you that. And they're really good. On to our GM / guy that is going to find our next head coach and who is responsible for finding our issue to find the solution to our quarterback issue. Brought to you by, Bearded Bastard barbecue sauce. So, AB, he got on the press conference and he says, "Hey guys, I love Kevin. Me and Kevin worked great together, but we didn't win enough.
Family." He said family like 5 times.
Yeah, we're family. We're going to work on getting on the quarterback market." And one thing he said, and I was waiting for it. I was just waiting for it. I was in my car before I had to go to Giant Eagle, and I'm like, I'm waiting. I don't want to miss him say anything. And he said the words that I needed to hear because I wanted him to say this because I wanted to be right, Chad. I wanted our podcast to be right and smart. And when he said the words, "We're going to do our work on the quarterback market," I cannot tell you today if the starter for 2026 is internal or external. I said, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And then all of a sudden, the Shador stands.
You need to get rid of Stefanski because then
Yep.
you lock in Shador. And we can't say whether Shador will be the starter or not, but he made it very clear. If you thought if you saw enough out of him and you thought other coaches were all going to love him, you would have said, we've got our starter in the building and we've got a great base for this next coach to come in and build.
No, you wouldn't.
It's like, we've got to do the work to figure out where we go.
You wouldn't say that with a new coach coming in at all. You don't know.
Yeah,
nobody knows.
Okay,
no.
Pause. Do you think when Vrabel went to New England, they said, well, you can have Drake May or whoever you want next? Nope. They said, we just drafted Drake May. He's our guy. And Vrabel said, awesome. That's why I'm coming here. Let's go.
So if they walk in the room and Andrew Berry says, hey, Shador Sanders is our guy, they're either going to leave.
No. He'll say, you got 3. You got Watson, you got Sanders, and you got Dillon. Which one do you want?
He did say, he did open and say in the interview, and you might be getting to this, so I might be jumping the gun, but he did say the new coach coming in will have input on what direction we go with the quarterback. We're not going to make that decision without him. So I think that makes it even more important that we interview some people with other options and who can be very open. Because if we interview somebody like Todd Monken, he might really want to be a head coach again, and he has been bouncing around, and you might interview him and say, what do you think of Shador? And he might feel pressure to say, this is the guy that drafted him. He might feel pressure to say, I like him, I can make it work. And he might not feel that way, but he might feel pressure to say it. You might have somebody like Harbaugh come in here and say, I don't think. And don't get me wrong, Harbaugh might like him. The Ravens were going to try to take him as a backup. But that's the kind of guy that could say, I watched him play this year, guys. I checked your film before we played you. Man, that kid's not how we're going to get it done. And he may have the option to say that because they might not be able to boot him out of the room. And if they do, he might be like, okay, see, I'm going to go interview with the Jets and the Falcons now. So, but it does feel like you need to get a couple guys in the room who can be honest with the GM about the quarterback situation. Heck, I wouldn't be shocked if somebody like Harbaugh thought he could win with Deshaun Watson. I'm not excited to go that route again. But you might get an owner that walks in and says yeah, I can. Todd Monken might be like, I wish Baker was Watson when I was the OC here. We could have done more with that. So
yeah, Mike, what was your thoughts when you heard that comment?
Which one?
The non-committal to basically to Sanders. I mean, he praised him. He said he learned. He said that he was developing. He's quick on his feet. He's da 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 da. And then he said, but we're not going to commit to anyone internal or external.
Just like Mary Kay Cabot said, you're not going to obviously announce your quarterback with a new coach coming in. You can't, right? I mean, you don't know who it's going to be.
If he's good enough. You can't
you have 2 rookies, so that's not they're not going to announce a rookie as a starter.
Yeah, our situation, you can't.
Yeah, you can never announce anything in our situation. This team is full of surprises.
Yeah, if you had Drake May, who you drafted 3, you're going to tell the coach you got this is your guy. Yeah. But you had Shador, who
Michael Penix has been kind of up and down, but I don't think they're going to let a head coach walk into Atlanta and say we're going to switch quarterbacks. They're going to be like, we just drafted this guy, and we have Kirk Cousins. Like, we can't clear the quarterback room. We've got the quarterbacks. If you can't work with these guys, you've got to go. I think some teams are at the liberty to say that. I don't think we're one of them. I think if they come in and they say, you guys didn't spend many assets on these guys, I can't win with them. I'm the best coaching option for you, but I think we need to bring in Malik Willis. I think they're going to be making calls.
I'd be all for that. We talked about that yesterday, but I'm going to ask you something, Chad. I've asked everybody else, 7 people, including Angel, Sam, Gary. I think I've asked everybody. Haven't been able to ask you yet. Obviously, the number one spot of your offense is what?
Quarterback.
Okay. The second one that protects your quarterback is?
Yeah, I do think probably left tackle for me would be 2, but it's close.
Right, that was my answer too.
All right. Yes. No, that's very true. Especially if it's left-handed or right-handed, you want to block their blind side as much as you can.
Blind side tackle, I should say. Yeah.
All right. So, third, for your quarterback to score points, you need
receiver. And I would put receiver over the other tackle. I think if you could have 3 elite players, you want to be the quarterback, tackle, and receiver. I think some people would say maybe both tackles, just give them like all the time and you can make the receivers. But I think those, it's not running back. I don't think it's tight end, even though a super elite tight end can get you somewhere. I think your 3, if you had the choice of building your team around 3 spots, I would say those 3 are that order.
And those are the most important for this team, the Cleveland Browns. And I gather that. And I know we're not going to draft, most likely not going to draft a quarterback unless we trade down or something, because we are the 6th pick as of right now. And there are 5 teams before us that steadily need a quarterback, correct? For the most part. I mean, everybody's
there's at least 2 or 3 that would take one before we had a chance.
Right. So
and one of them has more assets than us, so we're not going to be able to.
And I don't think the Jets need to do assets. Aren't they number 2? They can wait for more to drop to them.
There were 3, but if they're
so
2,
one of 2 options. We draft a quarterback and we let him sit throughout the year and watch Shador, Deshaun, or Zappy go at it. Or you work on the offensive line and the wide receivers.
Yeah, I don't think quarterback's on the table anymore, Mike. I think we're going to end up going your route because I just do not.
Yeah, Jets are 2.
I just don't think Jets are 2. They sold half their team to get draft assets,
and they're 2.
What are you going to do? Offer them
a quarterback?
They're going to be like, we already have 4. Like, we get out of here. We're taking a quarterback. Yeah. So I really do see.
I think this is going to be a giant building year for us. Obviously, we got probably half of a new offensive line coming in. I'm hoping Andrew Berry could do what he did in the off season. After the draft, maybe with some trades again, like we did with people like Tyson Campbell before the trade deadline. If there's issues, try to make those a priority to fix them.
Berry did say
if Berry could do on the offensive side of the ball over the next 2 years what he did on the defensive side of the ball over the last 2 or 3 years, then that would be great. The problem is if one of those guys isn't a quarterback, I still don't think we're an over 500 team.
Barry did say the priority this year will be offense. So just like what you said, the defense was priority last year. This year, he said they're going to do heavy offense, free agency, and draft. My hope is that free agency, they hit up that line, and then in the draft, you draft your skill C people. That's what I hope.
Yeah, last year, for me, priority is like, who do you spend your top, like, where do you spend your top 75, especially your picks in the first 2 rounds. In the last 3 years, he's only picked 1 offensive player, I think, with a first or second round pick. Like,
where was Zach Zinter? Oh, he was like 4th or 5th, wasn't he?
You're looking at JOK, and you're looking at Greg Newsome, and you're looking at Mike Hall, and you're looking at
defensive guys,
Graham and Schlesinger, and the only pick that he's actually
Jed Wills
player was Judkins. Jed Wills was 2020. That was 6 years ago.
Oh yeah, that was.
So in the last 3 years,
last 3 years. I'm sorry.
The only high pick, the only like elite pick he's used was on Judkins, and then even if you count 3rd rounders, it's like then you add in Tillman and Fannin for like skill position. So it's like he has highly ignored the offensive side over
Which
the last.
Which is why it's weird that Kevin is getting the blame for the offense and that's why Schwartz's defense looks so good. Your assets went on the defense, so your defense should look good, better than your offense because all the talent's over there.
Schwartz has done a good job with a great cast.
Yep.
Kevin did a bad job recently with a terrible cast.
And a misfits.
The downfall of this all is going to be is the next 2 to 3 years, we're mainly going to be focused on offense. And then by then our defense will be dwindling. Myles will have a year left after that. Like that's that.
Yeah. And we'll have a big offseason to talk draft. But I think your main point, Mike, is like, yeah, right now you're looking at you probably can't get a quarterback. So and Andrew Berry, we'll see if they stick to these guardrails that they designed with DePodesta. Andrew Berry and Haslam made it sound pretty clear in their press conference because he did get asked again. Did you guys hear where they're like, about Paul DePodesta, now that he's gone, can you finally tell us what he did? And he basically was like, he's a great executive. He set up our processes and our like structure and our like help set up our scouting and analytics departments, but basically he still kept it pretty general. But he did make it sound like he was more involved in like the overarching thing, and some of the stuff he set up will stay. It was like long-term structural, how do you run an organization things. And I spinning that around though, it's like it comes down to I've never thought Barry was overly analytic in the draft. I think he's picked a ton of guys that were more like the opposite of what PFF would want you to do, or like what Sumer Sports would want you to do. He's picked some guys that are outside of the mold analytically. So it'll be really interesting to see if his draft philosophy stays the same. But I think it was funny because he kind of brought that up as like just this organizational structure. Like DePodesta is gone. He did a great job, and like now we have a great organization. And Haslam's like, we're not dysfunctional, we're a great organization. And I'm like, meanwhile, you just fired your head coach because for 2 years straight, you can't win any games and nobody can agree on who should be your quarterback.
Every time I hear the word Paul DePodesta, my EQ goes ape shit, and my watch is telling me to calm down.
Yeah, somebody brought up a good point. I was doing a live on TikTok, and someone brought up a good point. He said maybe Andrew Berry's draft was highly influenced by Paul DePodesta, and the fact that maybe now this is conspiracy theory.
We'll see, depending on the way he drafts now.
Maybe Haslam gave him more say this year, and this is more of what a Berry draft should look like compared to the others. I said, I didn't think about that. So I love talking sports to other people because you brought something to me that I didn't even think about. That's a good point. And I said exactly what you said. We'll see this year because if he knocks it out the park again, then we're like, all right, well, maybe this guy was highly influenced and Paul DePodesta is to blame.
If he's still taking trade backs and trying to get more capital, if he's still, loving late round picks, if he's still like picking the way he's picked, where it's like a lot of it fits the mold, but every once in a while in each draft, like 2 times, he goes way out into left field. Like Anthony Schwartz was not a good analytic pick. He did not have like the numbers that match a good NFL quarterback, but they picked him anyway. Analytically, I'm not even sure Mason Graham was a good analytical pick, but Carson Schlesinger, Judkins, like a lot of these guys, like analytics, I don't think would have said these are your top guys, but he picked them anyway. He traded up. He traded up to pick a linebacker in the second round, and then he used the number 1 pick in the second round to pick a linebacker. Analytically, like that does not track as like a high priority position. And these guardrails that I had mentioned earlier from DePodesta said, we value on offense, receiver, left tackle, and quarterback most of all, and all assets should go to quarterback. That tracked for like Deshaun Watson and some things like that. It never really tracked for the draft. And then he said on defense, like you want pass rushers and you want guys who can cover your receivers.
Yeah.
That tracked a little more with the draft because they did put a little more emphasis on that.
This is something I want to ask you guys. Well, not even you guys. I know you guys' answer pretty much to this. It's more of the viewers right now. I want you guys to all type in the comments. Does the firing of Kevin Stefanski make this season more exciting for you? Less exciting? You're neutral? Because normally I go into a season kind of pumped up because I'm an idiot. But I have high hopes every year. And this year I'm not
going to find high hopes no matter what you do here. I think this feels a lot like the Sanders pick and not like what we've seen from Sanders, like at the time they picked him, or the Deshaun Watson trade, whether you were for it or against it, whether you had like you were optimistic person or not on those guys, the change in general is going to bring in some interest. I think for me, even I was really nervous about the firing, and I'm still a little bit upset about it. I'm still going to be more probably engaged now while they look for a coach
Yeah.
and after they hire him. I'm going to be very curious how this is going to go. What you just said, Angel, what does AB look like now that DePodesta is not over his shoulder? Like, is
How is
that
he moving?
different?
Is he moving with his
Is it
chest
different
out?
or
I hope Paul DePodesta hits a guardrail on his way home tonight. Sorry.
Say that. Sorry.
Sorry, that
A
was
couple
wrong.
of things that he said in general in the press conference. It kind of matches what Haslam said. He said, as far as a coach, that's pretty open minded. No bias to offensive, defensive minded as far as coach. Looking for a leader keyword, who can teach, develop, and command belief from players. So I think they say that because the other coach lacked that.
That's
think-
what I was going to say.
I would wonder. That makes sense. I would just wonder, is that we didn't like the leadership like style, or we just didn't think Kevin was a great leader? Which
I just think it's style.
yeah, I think it's like I think Kevin led in a different way, but I'm just wondering, is that like they didn't like the leadership style, or were they just they just love their buzzwords and they're like, our buzzword for this coaching search is going to be leader. So then no matter who, they're not going to say we need a track record of success. We need a guy that can change the offense. They're going to say leader. And I wonder if that's so like whenever they hire him, they can just be like, yeah, we interviewed and we just felt that this guy was a leader. And
Yeah.
it just seems like such a generic buzzword of like, it's like when they say like, what are you looking for in the draft this year? And they're like, we just need football players who just, smart, tough, accountable. And then they draft Anthony Schwartz, who's not tough. And they draft Jed Wills, who's not accountable. And they, like
EQ.
they have buzzwords they like to use, but then they don't do it.
That's a safe word.
They said the most important thing in our franchise is players who are smart, tough, and accountable. And then they brought in Cooper Kupp,
Opposite.
Jed Wills, Anthony Schwartz, Deshaun Watson for 3 first-round picks. Like, those are guys you're counting as smart, tough, and accountable? Okay. So let's just pray that they stick to leader, because that is the most important factor of a head coach. It's not about whether
100%.
you're a good offensive mind, not about whether you are great with defensive schemes. It's not about whether you're younger. It's, are you a great leader, and is the game and are you smart enough to handle today's game?
I really hope that's not true. Right, Havana, I really hope this isn't true. The OC of Harvard, he's interviewing the OC of Harvard.
That's got to be a joke. There's too many
Come
Harvard.
on, man.
It's got to be
Do
a joke.
not tell me
But that
is
actually
true, my guy.
because if that is a joke, that is hilarious.
That's a good one. That's a good one. He did say they want someone who can match the elite defense with an improved offense. So they kind of tell you there that they could have won a lot more games if the offense was just average. And I think that's what they were looking for this year. And I think that's why Kevin got fired. The offense wasn't average enough. It was below their average area.
I think it was predictability, no adjustment, the offensive line and wide receivers and the quarterback issues. That's what killed it.
I don't think you could either. I don't think you can adjust, and you have to be predictable, because you're, again, 23% of your offense from throwing perspective came from Harold Fannin, and 16% if you total up Sampson and Junkins as far as receivers came from rookies. So when your rookie quarterback is throwing, his objective is to give it to rookies who are going to make mistakes. So of course, that's why it baffles me. They came in with some unrealistic expectations to think that you're going to eventually start 2 rookie quarterbacks. Even Jimmy Haslam said, we got to see what we have of both of them. And then you're going to lean on where a system in which Kevin's system is heavy on tight ends and running backs. So you're going to star those guys and then say, well, they weren't average enough. Well, because you're starting rookies.
You're
then
making,
come on.
rookie point. I didn't think of the rookie point as much as you did, but that's a really good thought. I was thinking on the other side of it is like you on paper when you came into the season, your offensive line looked good, except for you weren't sure whether DeJuan Jones could handle the left tackle yet.
He's
But
here,
like
Chad.
that all fell apart. Otherwise, you just had like rookies and odd pieces and no
3, 4, yeah.
quarterback that you should have set any expectations for. So I guess it would be like you kind of covered the point of what I was going to say to Mike is what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did Kevin become predictable and the offense lacked flair?
Yeah, you have to
so
be
the players
predictable.
couldn't execute, or did he have players that couldn't handle anymore on offense? So you
Every
can't
year,
run a bunch of
yes.
motion and make it complicated because Gabriel and Sanders, especially, and don't get me wrong, Flacco is very experienced. There's a lot of things Flacco can't do. He's not who he used to be. So like you were hamstrung at quarterback, but also offensive line and receiver. So like, can you run these motions with Malachi Corey and Isaiah Bond? They weren't even in training
No.
camp. Could
Yeah.
you like how many, could you switched quarterbacks 3 times. Could they get any rhythm with their receivers or linemen? Could you run really complex schemes? Could you keep opening up the playbook? Probably not. As soon as Gabriel started to get like the hang of things after playing for 4 games,
4.
you moved on to another guy who, only got you got a guys with what 5 and 7 games. Like that's not enough for them to get a rhythm where you can start advancing the offense. But at the same time, it didn't look great last year either. So we'll see what it looks like this year, but I will always wonder a little bit, was it even possible to open the offense at all with
You can't. That's what baffles my mind. Like people are thinking, why isn't he opening the offense up? I'm like, do you see who's catching the ball? You got Jerry Jeudy who's bobbling the balls. You got a rookie going 30 yards out in Bond, and you have rookies that are your playmakers. You set Kevin up with rookie playmakers.
And he's hurt, then he's back, then he's hurt, then he's back.
I mean, inconsistent. So that's why, like for me, I think Barry should have been as reamed out or as hated, or maybe they did behind the scenes. Maybe you said you got one more year, right? We don't know. But that's why I said 3 weeks ago, like it won't make sense to have Barry still here because he's responsible for what was on the field. Now, sure, should Kevin demand better of his players? Like, what are you going to do with Jerry Jeudy? He dropped the ball. Who are you going to have come out there? Malachi Corey? I mean, there's no depth in receiver.
It's Larvadane.
You
get I know Brown fans love him. I like him too. You cannot
Corley did pretty
out
damn
your number
good
one.
Yeah, Corley. I want to
Malachi Corley and say like,
I'm good on him. I'm high on him. But nonetheless, that was my issue with the whole ordeal. Like, and then it goes back to I'm glad Quick Clip showed up finally. I mean, your guy Shador is not promised next year. Why? Because the coach you guys wanted is gone. The guy why we would have said, hey, he's been in our system for 7 games. He showed some improvement. Let's run it back again this year is gone. So the guy that they bring in may have some pushback on he's going to have some say, and it might not be Shador. I mean, it's a small chance, probably not. Either way, we'll see.
I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I hope it's Deshaun Watson. I hope it is Deshaun Watson so we can get someone out of the money that we got. That's all.
So crazy. Out of the list we named of potential candidates and people we're going to interview, Harbaugh is the one that comes to mind as like, yeah, I can handle Shador's personality and fame because he just had Lamar, and I know it's not the same, but like, I think he can handle it. I also see him as the person that would look at you and be like, but I don't want to deal with it. So it's like, it's going to be tough.
He's like, I dealt that with Lamar, and that's the reason why I'm gone. I don't want to deal with this here. All right, we got to get on to other things. This other stuff we'll save. Because it's off season. We can always address the trust and draft here and maybe next week. But we need to talk about something that happened special, something amazing happened Sunday that gets overshadowed, like we talked about in the beginning of the episode. Myles Garret sacks Joe Burrow for the 12th time and gets the record 23 sacks in the season. It wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be because I feel like it was a slow sack because I wanted a hit.
It was exciting for me.
Yeah. So I was
The
like,
Browns Packers bar
oh,
went as wild as we have, like, as loud as we've been the entire season. This might have
2
been a
seasons.
louder scream than Shador's first touchdown pass. Like, people went bonkers when that finally happened. You're right, it was not a treacherous sack, but, like, we were so on edge as the clock struck down, like, "Oh my god, he was on pace to get, like, 25. Is he not even gonna get 23?"
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I guess for me, it was a sigh of relief. I was like, I mean, I did have my son sleeping in my arms, so maybe that's why I couldn't really get too excited because I knew I had to EQ down a little bit. But it was cool to see history, man. I told my girls were watching, and they was like, "Did he get it?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Well, what is the sack, Dad?" I'm like, "Ah, great, you just ruined it." No, I'm just like, well, a
Uh,
sack is when the guy gets a quarterback, but it was cool that they got to see it. My wife even was interested in who's like I mean, she's in and out with football. She's like, well, did he end up getting that record? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, did they win? I'm like, yeah, it was
yeah.
amazing.
And I
They
will tell
won
you,
and
it
Miles got the
it was
record.
different for him. I very much believe it was different for him that he got that record, and we got the win. I definitely think that made the vibe in the locker room worth it. I think he would have been a little bummed to have gotten that. Like, in the long run, whatever, he would have been hyped to get it. In the short term, I think he would have been bummed to get it and then walk off that field with a loss.
Yeah, with the loss. Yeah. I
the
mean,
Yep.
the best part of that for me was I was at my father-in-law's, and that was great. I jumped up and I was like, "He got it!" And everybody's like, "He got it!" I'm like, "Yeah!" And I'm trying to keep my EQ back to normal. So then you see Jamar Chase after the game crying, like always after we beat the Bengals, and that's what made it worthwhile for me.
did you hear like how he compared it to? He's like, it's like me getting 10 catches in a game. Like, dude just broke a record that's been standing for like a decade or so, and you're
It was
3
Jamar. Yeah,
years.
if I get 10 catches in a game, you get if you set the record for the most receiving yards in the history of the NFL, yeah, you can celebrate for 3 minutes. If even that, I don't know. Hey, can we take a second to go back to one more Shador comment? Because I'm
Yep.
actually curious. I think you guys already know if I agree or not, but I'm curious if you agree on Joshua Eads' comment. It's like 4 up. Oh, no, he made another one. It's farther than that.
Sanders
It's at
actually
5.
showed improvement each week. No, he did not. He
Okay,
did
I was
not
curious
show
what you
improvement
thought. What do
each
you
week.
think, Mike?
And I'm a
I'll tell
Shador
you what
guy.
I asked you the question a little bit ago. Obviously, without a line and receivers to throw to, you're not going to see much out of them. But I think there are glimpses, like that one catch. I forget who it
Question's
was
not
too, right in
glimpses,
the end
though. Do
zone.
you agree he improved every week? Because to me, that would
Uh,
mean his best weeks were the last 2, and I don't think his best I think the last 2 were 2 bad weeks by him.
he
I
was
think
on
he
and
was
off.
best against the Raiders and against the Titans, and I see him as up and down. I didn't think he improved every week. I thought there were some things he improved on and others that were worse. He threw a lot of interceptions to end the season, and he did not throw touchdowns. So, like, I
That
think the
I could
one
agree
thing
on.
he did improve on was controlling the sacks and making them not
Yep.
so impactful. But the
Yep.
one thing he got worse on was protecting the ball. He fumbled and threw interceptions. He turned the ball over like what, 4 or 5
7
times in the
times.
last 2
Yeah.
weeks?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
that? Gotta clean that up, my man.
Dang. Stefanski won
Yeah.
the last 2
So
games and told Cleveland to shove it. No high drive picks for you.
yeah, you keeping Shadora, and I'm going to go
Man,
to
he
New
left on
York
a
to get with
bang.
the guy I wanted in Jackson Dart.
I never thought of that. Like, here, you got
Yeah.
something for me,
Some
Cleveland. I got
people
something for
do you
you.
guys buy that story from Pete Prisco where he says, like,
Yes.
he knows from sources that Kevin did
Yes.
not wanna trade for Watson?
Yes.
By the way, I know it's
I
not
agree.
Shador, but, like, it's worth like, it
Yes.
just flapped in my head, and I was like, I had heard that a long time ago where they said the story I was given was from somebody that I actually believed. It just sounded believable, and he sounded like he had sources. Barry wanted him initially and then backed off because he thought the price
Yeah.
tag was
I
too
can see
high.
that.
Kevin agreed to it and basically took it as, like, if he'll agree to do our offense, like,
Yes.
then I'll get on board, but had to be, like, coaxed on board, and it was the owner and DePodesta who are like, "We have to make this happen." And that seems so believable a few years later, and so I'm wondering if you
I
guys kind
agree.
of
Yes.
find that
I
believable.
believe
I'm
that. I've
wondering if in
always
3 years, we'll find out more about Gabriel and Sanders and who was on board with those picks.
Yeah, we heard that actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Angel.
No, I've subscribed to that theory a long time ago. I think we talked about it on the show. I feel like I brought it up. I subscribed to that theory 100%. That was not Kevin's pick. Kevin agreed because he agreed in principle. I would run your offense, signed that check. It was like, in second thought, your offense sucks, and I'm going to do what I did in Clemson.
I want to freelance. Yeah, I want to freelance.
Yeah, I want to freelance. Yeah.
My quick thing before the show ends, guys. This is what I want. I'm going to instill some trust in whatever coach we grab. What I want this coach to do is literally analyze the hell out of whoever he picks. I want this guy in camp showing this coach what they could do, and whoever is better at the end of camp, I don't care who it is, whoever is making the biggest plays happen at camp, whether you're doing your little exhibitions and tossing balls to each other. I want people to see what the best product we have. I don't care if it's Sanders. I don't care if it's Deshaun Watson. I just want the best guy out there. And I'm going to say, run it back this year with what you have in the quarterback room. Obviously, that's my thought on that. But no matter what, at the end of the day, I want the best guy for the job out there.
I'm okay with a change, but I am realistic at the idea of what you just said, Mike, that they may not have the option to change this year. They may bring in a new coach and say, hey, what do you think of these guys? And he might not like them, and they may still think he's the best candidate and say, we may not be able to switch it this year, but after we get the money off the books for Watson, we'll be able to dig in deeper. So but it would not be a shocker to me.
Not all in, Angel. Not all in like we did last time.
All in for one season, maybe not all in for 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about the quarterback would be like very high priority once the money's off the books, and whether if there's a good free agent that's, they actually do their homework and do background checks. But
that's why
also what I'm looking forward to this summer is no quarterback trackers, hopefully. But unfortunately, if you have those 3 in camp, you're going to do a quarterback tracker.
There's got to be.
Yeah.
EQ.
How are they going to be EQing all summer long? Thanks, guys, for tuning in, commenting below. Continue to give us a follow, like, subscribe on YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're close to 1,000 on TikTok. Show some love there so we can start going live on that platform. Again, thanks for tuning into this horrible season of ups and downs and arguments of who's quarterback. At the end result, we don't have a quarterback. Unfortunately, we all were right. The guy we liked,
we have 4 of them.
The guy we hated sucked. Either way, we'll see you next week. Don't forget to tune in 10 o'clock Saturdays and listen to that Browns Morning Brew, where they will give their end of the year assessment, and they probably give their opinions of the press conference also. It will be a different side. I'm sure we all
expect more complaining. I expect more complaining. Yeah, I expect more yelling because I want you guys to cover why this season was so.
I really thought Chad and I were going to fight today. Like, I grabbed a drink to clear my throat so I could sound tougher and everything, but like we made it through without a fight today.
Yeah, Mike has to sound tougher. He's like 3 feet taller than me, and he got 150 pounds. No big.
But it shows we're not scripted, so that's a plus.
Yes. But thanks, guys,
for
the night, though. These Mary Kay comments are making me laugh. Thanks, Havana. I appreciate it, guys. Until next time, like always, go Browns.
Go Browns.
Please go Browns.